Hello, this is Alex Calvo Garcia. You're listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Hello, Iron fans, and welcome to yet another episode of the Iron Hour podcast. It's Barra here, kicking off the episode. At some point, Max will take over on the hosting duties, but listen, I had to show my face. I had to show Ollie Turner that I'm still here, still alive and kicking, still an integral part of the Iron Hour podcast. A huge thank you to our sponsors, without whom this, of course, would not be possible. I'm talking about Best Blanks Wholesale. I'm talking about AC Videography and Photography, Hole in the Wand, and of course, the infamous No Film. Thank you so much once again for tuning into this episode of the Iron Hour podcast. It's our aim to bring you as much content as possible on a weekly basis, and I like to think we're delivering, Max. I like to think we're doing as best we can under pretty difficult circumstances, it has to be said. And this, of course, coming a week where we beat Yeovil 1-0 at home, and a couple of loan players. A couple of players went out on loan, Max.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking about this with Ollie. Actually, you mentioned there on BBC Radio Humberside on Monday night, and look, the Yeovil home game won't go down as a classic, I don't think, particularly in the second half. My dad called it a bit of a non-event, but I'm a big believer in it's a sign of good sides that if you can win when you're not playing at your best, but you still get those 3 points. Look, you don't get more points for winning games and playing sexy football. Obviously midweek I saw that York beat Rochdale 4-1, which for them is a great win, but you still only get 3 points for it. So the Yeovil game still gets a big thumbs up from me.
Let's talk about a couple of players that stood out. I'll go with the obvious one. I thought Zane Westbrook looked amazing in midfield. Difficult situation to navigate for Butler with Ollie Ewing not being available. When you see the lineup, instantly as a fan, you're a little bit concerned. But I thought we navigated the situation well, and I thought Westbrook looked very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it pays tribute to the fact that Butler did go out and get him. At that point when Westbrook signed, I don't think most Iron fans would have necessarily identified central midfield as an area that we thought needed strengthening. I think that's the Blackpool game, and I know it's slightly different in the FA Cup because you've got 9 subs, but we had 3 out and out really central midfielders on the bench there, which I think does go to show the strength in depth in that area. Look, any game so far this season where Ewing hasn't been starting, I think Iron fans do go, hang on. But that speaks to just how well Ollie Ewing has played since coming in. Both him and Westbrook have been excellent finds. So we'll see what kind of side we're able to put out against Solihull on Saturday. But even if Ewing is still out, central midfield is an area I've got real confidence in. Actually, I've been impressed with them in that area so far this season, all of them.
When you get to the main podcast, I'm sure the content will be centered around the football. Let's just talk about something else then, whilst it's on my mind. The pitch. Did the pitch look improved on Saturday?
I mean, I wouldn't say it looked any noticeably better or worse. I think, which is maybe not a bad thing given how the weather has turned in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We're clearly not the only club struggling with the pitch. Obviously it's been a significant issue for Rochdale as well. To the extent that for them it's potentially causing postponements, and they seem to have quite specific issues around the drainage as well, which isn't helping them. So look, it's the fifth tier, and what we now expect in terms of quality pitches compared with what was very par for the course 20 plus years ago is now very different. I would say to any Iron supporter, if you want to have a good laugh, go on YouTube and watch the quality of some of the pitches or lack thereof that you've just played on in the 70s and the 80s because you had no choice. So look, we'll see what the weather is like. Hopefully, touch wood, so far, I would say it's been a relatively mild autumn and early winter. We've not really had a big cold snap. That would potentially be what I would be worried about affecting the pitch further as we get into December, January time. So, look, we want the pitch to be as good as it can be. We'll keep our fingers crossed, and I'm sure the club will be doing their best. And yeah, wishing the very best of luck with that.
Rory Mahadi, then. The current situation is his loan has been extended for a further month. I know we talked about this on last week's episode, but we've had a little bit of clarification in as much as he's been pulled back now from the international call up for the Scotland under 21. So we know he now will be staying with the Iron over his loan period. I guess the only thing there is he is still playing for the Leeds youth setup as part of the nature of the youth loan. I know we played well on Saturday. Is this a position we really need to get tied down though? Because there's still question marks over when Mason Campbell will be coming back, and there is a risk, isn't there, with the lone players, as we saw with Rory Watson.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think the risk is reduced in terms of this signing. You would feel that. Well, I mean, look at the quote that came from the York manager Maynard, where he openly admitted he didn't want to strengthen a rival. I wouldn't necessarily say that we were rivals of Leeds under 21s. So we are in a better position in terms of that side of things. As we get closer to the deadline, and there's the question of a potential extension or Campbell's return from injury, because clearly Campbell's injury has been worse than anyone at the time was expecting or hoping. So that will become an issue then. But right now, I would say that I am fairly relaxed about this. I think behind his performances have been good. I'm also pretty relaxed about the fact that it's the terms and conditions of the youth loans that he can still play and train with the academy sides as they see fit. Because we knew that going in. It's not a surprise. It's a pretty well known term, and specifically, actually, I think because it's a goalkeeper. Look, if it's a centre half or somebody who's having to really put in huge amounts of physical exertion at any given 90 minutes, that can become more challenging from a fitness point of view. But it's a goalkeeper, and I know they do more in possession now than they ever have before. But from a confidence point of view, from just getting into the rhythm of playing good sides, I am actually a big believer that the more football, the better for goalkeepers, really. So, look, I'm very pleased with what he's been able to bring to the table so far. It was an important clean sheet against Yeovil. I thought his save at the end of the first half, in particular, was excellent. So, if we can win a few more games 1-0 with Mahadi playing well, I would be very happy.
Good. Mark Beck, two players that left the Iron this week to go out on loan. For me, I'm looking at the situation and I'm thinking it's taken so long to get anyone out on loan. There was rumblings here, there was rumblings there. It seemed to roll on and roll on and roll on. Then overnight, two go out on loan. Max Brogan, first of all, from my perspective, it's no secret. I'm a huge fan. I think he needed game time. I think it was the right thing to do. I'm starting to think it was getting to a point of unfair when he's not coming off the bench. But he's effectively not going out on loan. He needs game time. He's still a young kid, so I'm happy to see him go out. Same for yourself.
Yeah, I think so. Again, particularly when he played last season, I thought Brogan really was an asset, particularly when he played in central midfield and not a wing back, or which I don't believe this is.
Or centre back. Or centre back.
Yes, indeed. It's almost Pep Guardiola-esque, isn't it? Dropping sort of Mascherano becoming a centre half. Look, I agree. Perhaps a little bit surprised that there wasn't a potential option in the National League North for him, but you never know how those conversations go behind closed doors. There's lots of different cogs in that wheel turning that we as supporters don't see. I know Butler, when he spoke with BBC Radio Humberside, mentioned the fact that I believe Cleethorpes went to John Leggett College, which is not something I knew.
Yeah, news that one.
But so from his point of view, that made it even more attractive for Max. There's no travelling to say somewhere like Telford, for example. I think that is a positive. And look, I like Brogan as well, but you clearly see that when Westbrook came in on loan, he dropped another down the pecking order. And obviously, literally a couple of days before the loan departures, you had me pen an opinion piece for the podcast website, didn't you? And I specifically talked about the fact that I wanted to see Butler cut the squad size. That I thought that having three central midfielders on the bench against Blackpool was too many, particularly as we know that the budget for us is always going to be an ongoing consideration, especially compared with last season and the season before. So I think that's a positive. If we pick up another injury or two, or a suspension or two in that area, then I would imagine we'd look at recalling Brogan in particular. But yeah, I view that as a positive move for all concerned, particularly as, look, we might not be 7 or 14 on his wages, but for him, and I imagine we might talk about Beck later as well, if those finances cumulatively help you look at where we might want to strengthen in January, as one famous supermarket said, every little helps.
Alan Smith, Wayne Rooney, Mark Beck. 3 strikers who now appear to be central midfielders. Have we been playing in the wrong position this whole time, Max?
So, to the supporters who are listening, they might not know what that's in referring to. Was it some website that mistakenly thought they were playing back in central midfield?
Pulling the strings, mate. Just Becky there pulling the strings in midfield for Alfredton on Tuesday night.
So, I believe, I'm just trying to think, because that's an unusual transition, isn't it? I've seen centre forward to centre half more often. I think maybe Dion Dublin. Again, you mentioned Wayne Rooney there. That is actually a good example. Maybe Joe Linton for Newcastle, I would say actually. I mean, if Mark Beck ever gets confused for being Brazilian, I would be surprised.
Not Alan Smith though. You don't see the Alan Smith.
Again, that's a good one actually. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, maybe a sort of tough tackler.
Can I just evidence what we were saying there about some
Absolutely.
website? This was the official Alfreton Town Twitter that released the starting lineup and had Beck as number 22, position central midfield, Mark Beck. So this is a tactic.
I'd seen it on social media, but I didn't realise it was the Alfreton official Twitter. Can we do a shout out? If anybody was at that Alfreton game, can you please confirm whether or not we'll have to check their sign religiously on Saturday afternoon, because if they make the same mistake twice, then maybe he is playing in midfield. God, that would be a twist, wouldn't it? Jesus, he scored as well.
I know, yeah, had a good game by all accounts.
Well, and I did say it on Twitter, and I do think actually that it's, if you were trying to pick a club in the National League North where you thought actually Beck will suit their style of play and be a positive addition for them, Alfreton probably would have been the one. They traditionally like playing back to front quite quickly. They're quite a direct and physical side in both boxes. It's obviously not that far from Scunny in the car. So I think that's a positive move for all parties concerned. And look, particularly for this season, it just hasn't worked out for Beck in the way that I'm sure that he and Andy Butler in particular would have hoped. So, but again, if we pick up a couple of injuries or suspensions or issues in the final third, then I'm sure they would consider recalling them if they felt like they had to.
Right then, thank you very much to Barra. It was really great to chat with him from the US of A. I think he was probably in his hotel room all night singing Lynyrd Skynyrd, Sweet Home Alabama. So I'm very, very happy to say that for the second part of the podcast, it's going to be myself and the real hero of the podcast, everybody's favourite, YouTube sensation, Mr. Gareth Holden, Iron Army. How you doing, Gaz?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for the big up there. But yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad. Looking forward to Solihull on Saturday.
Yes.
Obviously, me and Barra discussed a little bit there about Saturday's win over Yeovil. From your perspective, what was your take on the game? Were you pleased? Did it feel a bit flat? A little bit of both?
I thought we made hard work of it. To be honest with you, I thought we started off really well. We looked good going forward. The goal came from good pressing, from Howe chasing down as he does all the time. But yeah, I just thought as the game went on, I thought there'd be more goals for us. To be honest, going in at 1-0, I'm thinking there's definitely more goals in the second half. And we just seemed to labour a little bit, I thought. Yeovil didn't offer much, did they? In fairness, there's a couple of saves Mahady made. But other than that, it was just thought it was hard work. I'm glad we got because we got the points. Obviously, that's the main thing. The 3 points keeps us up there in the title race or title chase, should I say? I know it's early doors, but there's still a long way to go yet. But we're up there. People are looking, noticing. So yeah,
Yeah,
glad we got the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously after the midweek game, so the Iron have dropped to 6th as Forest Green beat Tamworth, and York perhaps surprised a few people by not just beating Rochdale, but by beating them 4-1. What did you think of those results?
I think, say, you could expect the Forest Green result, to be fair, against Tamworth. But yeah, like you say, the York Rochdale result opened a few eyes probably. 4-1 scoreline. You'd have expected Rochdale maybe to have a bit more about them, to be a bit closer game. But York are doing bits, aren't they? Scoring goals, plenty of goals, and it's they've got the team, they've got the players to do that, to score the goals. So just going from strength to strength, and with the money that they have behind them, you'd expect them to be beating teams, any team really, apart from Scunthorpe.
Well, except us. I mean, obviously, we mentioned the 4-1. It's amazing to think that Rochdale, even after losing that game 4-1, still have the league's meanest defence.
Yeah.
They'd only conceded 8 goals all season prior to that, and they conceded half of that many in the space of, well under one game against York. So as we say, that drops us to 6th on goal difference. However, we do have a game in hand on 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 5 sides above us. So theoretically, if we did win that game in hand, we would go top. Although Rochdale in 4th, despite playing York midweek, because their game against us was postponed, they have 1 game in hand on us and Southend and 2 games in hand on everybody else. You mentioned there about the title race, the title chase. Just 3 points separating 1st and 6th in mid-November. I mean, if it keeps up like that for another couple of months, it is going to be a hell of a title race, isn't it?
Certainly will be. Yeah, I'd say there's lots of teams involved, and there's a gap opening as well. I know, like I say, it's early doors, but what is it? 6 points, 7 points to 7th place.
Yeah. So Southend are 7th. We're 7 points clear of them.
Yeah.
And Wealdstone, who were 8th, and the first side outside the playoffs, we're 8 points clear of them. Significantly better goal difference, and we've got a game in hand. So that's a bit of a chunky gap, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah. And as long as that we can keep that gap, it'd be nice to keep that gap. But I am expecting some losses along the way as the weather turns a bit more meaner, and injuries pile up a bit. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it'd be nice to keep the gap, but it would be very hard to keep that gap also.
Yeah, absolutely. I think look, we would all love a title chase, but given our hopes of mid-table before the start of the season, I think if you offered Iron fans a playoff place now, would you still be happy with that come May? How far have your expectations risen?
Well, I had us finishing 11th at the end of the season, and I think now if we finish 11th at the end of the season, I'd be disappointed with that. So I think you'd be happy with a playoff place at the end, come the end, surely. Be even happier with automatic, but I think that's where the 3 up, 3 down comes into play, and I think the games on Saturday all kick off at 15:03, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Coincide with that. So yeah, it would be nice. But yeah, if we can finish in the playoffs, come the end of the season, I think most Scunthorpe fans would be very happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly as Notts County proved that mad season. What did they finish second with? 107 points or something? I mean, absolutely,
like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, you mentioned 3 up there, and obviously would urge any Iron fans or anybody else listening to the pod for that matter to go and check out that. It's on quite a lot of the National League clubs' Twitter, and as Gad said, all the games on Saturday, including our trip to Solihull, which we will discuss in due course, are kicking off at 3 minutes past 3. I look at the National League, and there are 6 sides, the top 6, who are all on more than 2 points a game. Yeah. So look, a couple of those sides might dacker off, but the fact that right now 92, 93 points is only going to get you 6th. That's crackers. We won League One with less than that.
Yeah.
So then you compare that with League Two. So National League, there are 6 sides on more than 2 points a game. In League Two, there are none. Not a single side in League Two has 2 points a game, which is why it's probably only 7 points from 13th to 1st. So nobody wants to get promoted out of League Two again. Just on that 3 up, 3 down, one quick question before we go for a very quick FPL update is, do you think it's time for 3 up, 3 down between League Two and the National League?
It's got to be, hasn't it? I think looking at if you look at the top 7 in the National League, is it 6 of them are ex-league clubs? I think it is. I think it's only Boreham Wood that are up there that haven't been in the Football League. So, there's a case for it, a massive case for it. But it's the AFL, isn't it? They've got to want it as well. And obviously the clubs that are in League Two aren't going to be wanting it, especially those near the bottom.
Yes.
It's a double-edged sword, really.
How can we convince chickens to vote for KFC?
Exactly. And turkeys for Christmas.
You make a very, very good point. 6 of the top 7 are ex in the National League are ex EFL clubs. Only Boreham Wood.
Yeah.
And also actually 8 of the top 10 as well. You've got Halifax in 9th. You've got Hartlepool in 9th. You've got Halifax in 10th.
Yeah.
So there's clearly a lot of ex-league pedigree right now in the upper echelons of the National League. Right then, as promised, we'll give you a quick FPL update as well, folks, because obviously we've got international break coming up, so it'll be another sort of couple of weeks before that. Mike Hickson will be very, very pleased to know that Easy Come, Easy Go is still top. Has managed to stretch his lead over second place Sam Allen by a couple of points. Big shout out to Tyler Denton, who is up to 5th well over 300 sides. Then Dent's 11 had the best, had got the most points of any side in the top 12 with 57. So that's excellent work. When, however, I pivot to how the members of the pod are doing, yes, Gareth is already wincing. I'm sorry, Gareth. No change there. Then
No,
it's quite top between Becky and Barra. Only 7 points between them. I am 3rd of the pod. Mid-table mediocrity. Although Marco has cut the gap, he had quite a strong week. He's up to 579 points. But then I'm afraid, Gareth, it's quite a skinny week for yourself. So you're on 513.
I'm just happy to be in the 500s.
It's not a darts game, I'm afraid. Despite I'm looking at your team now, despite a clean sheet for Chalobah, a clean sheet for Gavardiol, and successfully captaining João Pedro, who I believe scored for Chelsea.
Yeah.
A skinny week in the other areas of the pitch. So we'll make sure that after the international break, we'll give you another FPL update, folks. We are recording this on our usual Thursday evening spots. So if anybody's living in a cave, with roughly 10 minutes to go with the England game, England are 1-0 up at home to Serbia. But in much more important matters, as Gareth has hinted at there, we are away to Solihull on Saturday. Are you looking forward to it, Gareth? What are you thinking?
I think it'll be, on paper, it's obviously, everyone's got a Scunthorpe win. But I think it'll be a bit tougher than that. I don't think the weather's meant to be up to much, is it, on Saturday? I think it's forecast rain. I think it's forecast rain all day Friday down Solihull as well. So the pitch could play a big part in proceedings. But, I think they've won the last 2 games, haven't they? Gateshead and Truro. So without conceding as well. But both of them teams are down towards the lower end of the table. But yeah, and they've got Tyree Sinclair on loan as well from York. So we've seen him once this season playing for York. And obviously he's going to be playing again for Solihull, you'd imagine. So hopefully he's as effective as he was for York when we played them. But yeah, it's always, when you see an ex-player playing in the opposition's team, you always fear the worst, that they're going to be the ones to score. So, but I think we should have enough about us. We just need to be more clinical in that final third.
Yeah.
I think that's for the last few games now. We're creating the chances. We're just not putting them away. There'll be one game that they all go in, and then we'll be wondering why we were worrying about such things.
I'll hold you to that. There's going to be some side this season we put a few past. As you mentioned, their last two games, Solihull won 2-0 away at Gateshead, and they beat Truro 4-0 at home. In addition to the loan signing of Tommy Sinclair earlier today, they've also signed attacking midfielder Joe Sabara. Hope I pronounced that right. Is an attacking midfielder on loan from Doncaster, so you'd imagine that Butler, with his Doncaster connections, will know him as well as will Westbrook. Obviously, both sides are going to have midfielders on loan from Doncaster in and around the squad. You would feel Solihull completely middle of the pack. You can't get more mid-table than 12th. Won 6, drawn 5, lost 7. Scored 23, conceded 28, 23 points from 18 games. You mentioned there about us being clinical in front of goal, or wanting us to be clinical in front of goal. Yeah. I have quite bad memories of when we last made the trip to Solihull in the National League, when we were anything but clinical in front of goal. Who are you looking to take those chances?
Anyone who's in front of goal. No, I just feel that sometimes we just seem to want to walk it in. I want players to have a shot from wherever they are. Really, if they're within that box, take a shot. Obviously, if someone's lined up in a bit better position, pass it on to them. But we just seem to sometimes want to walk it in, and I just feel that we've got to be a bit more. I don't know what the word is. Come on, help me out a bit more. We just need to shoot.
Yeah. Confidence.
A bit more confident in front of goal.
Ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll be all right at the back. I know we're not sure on Evans' injury, how long he's out for, but obviously Horton's doing a really good job in the middle with Boyce. So I feel confident that we'll be okay at the back, but we just need to get a goal scored, really.
Excellent. Right, then you said that you're feeling confident in us at the back. That brings us on nicely. We'll wrap things up with a quick score prediction from us both. We'll put our necks on the line so that when we're wrong, inevitably Marco can give us a load of grief on Twitter. Gareth, you go first. Give me a score prediction.
I'm going to go 1-0.
Who to?
Scunthorpe, sorry. 1-0 to Scunthorpe. Well, 1-0.
Just checking. I was going to say, because if you predict a Scunthorpe defeat, usually Marco then gives me a lot of grief for that. So
I'm going to say I'm not called Max.
Definitely not. So you've gone for a 1-0 Scunthorpe win.
Yeah.
Who's going to be our goal scorer? Who's going to get us the 3 points back up north?
You know what? I think it'll be Westbrook.
Oh, okay. Like it. You think shot from distance, bit of midfield quality?
I'm going for a free kick.
Oh, okay. Right, I like it.
He's going to take the ball, be confident with it, and ping it in top bins.
Fair enough. And unusually so, mostly because Marco's not here, and I know we will wind him up. I will go for a 2-0 Scunthorpe away win. I can see it being 1-0, quite tight. We're clinging on at the end, and then we'll sort of, a bit like we did away at York. We'll hit them on the break late on.
Hope so.
I'll go for a Callum Roberts double.
Ah, very nice.
So when that inevitably doesn't happen, I will go back to predicting 1-1 draws. Thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. Thank you as well to the judging for Barton for sponsoring our FPL section and very kindly offering up a lovely juicy bar tab for the winner. So we'll make sure we keep bringing you regular updates on that as the season progresses. Thank you to Barra for zooming in from the US of A. Thank you very much to Gareth Iron Army for joining us. If you don't already, make sure you go and subscribe to his YouTube channel. And most importantly, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and hopefully it'll be another very happy 3 points for the Iron on Saturday away at Solihull. Up the Iron.